Hey everyone, welcome back. I think you can tell by the length of this video and what I said yesterday, yeah, I'm not impressed. But if you want the breakdown on this weapon and what makes a good weapon and what kills a weapon, then keep watching. This is a case of a weapon that is too tailored to the signature frame it's tied to, with no thought for how it will play outside of that vacuum. This is the Alternox. You may be wondering, it doesn't look that bad, but the thing is, I'm showing you the literal best shots I could find with this weapon. Normally I just get functional bits and pieces or longer segments, but this weapon literally cannot do anything unless all your weapon arcanes and galvanized stacks are up, and enemies are grouped. And ironically, even if I use the AoE option against the grouped up enemies, it literally does nothing. It's a dead fire mode that serves no purpose and cannot do anything against the grouped enemies unless you armor strip them, or buff the weapon out its ass with helmets. While yes, one of the nuke options on Gyre would work way better with Uneru's Caustic Strike 100% armor strip, it was more of a nice to have than an absolute necessity. This weapon, on the other hand, literally cannot kill enemies on Steel Path with the Altfire unless I armor strip at all, and then it still isn't even fast. Let's take a closer look at Alternox. When you equip this on Gyre, it grants 20% more multi-shot as its signature passive. Honestly, probably one of the most useless signature passives so far, especially because we now have Galvanized Multi-Shot, which on this weapon grants a whole 230% on top of the weapon's existing 100% bullets fired. So the passive grants a whole 0.2 bullets on top of our 3.3. or a 6% damage increase. Even the reload passives on some weapons are better than this. The name of the game these days are hybrid DPS weapons. They don't need to be optimally split on stats, but giving us something to work with goes a long way to make a weapon viable. This is a case of not that. We get 14% crit chance, 30% status, and 2.2 crit multiplier. Look familiar? Most weapons with this kind of spread are shotguns, which DE traditionally have been afraid of giving crit stats, but to compensate, shotguns have high base damage. This weapon does not have high base damage. Compare this to the Trumna, that has 82 and 50 radial damage on the primary fire mode, higher crit chance, and also higher fire rate. Alternox has 62 base damage, 74.4 as it appears on Gyre, but this is only because of the 20% multi-shot passive being included in the base stats in the equip menu for some reason. So the only thing going for it are the electric rocks from pure elemental weighting and high status. Let's see what they did to Gyre's baby. Build 1. Probably the only actually functional build. We can tweak this in a bit, but bear with me. Oh, by the way, did I mention this weapon absolutely needs combat discipline in Arcane Avenger to work? Anyways, this is the pure electric setup. Keep in mind, if you use this, you absolutely need a primer. I'd recommend Epitaph to apply viral for it to scale properly. Luckily on the primary mode, Gun Seal does actually work, though it's additive and nothing special, but extremely important to let the weapon scale. If you build pure electric, you actually need Hammershot to bump up the status high enough, and since we're slotting 2 crit damage mons as a result, this synergizes very well with combat discipline in Arcane Avenger to proc the arcane when you inflict self-damage from killing enemies. This makes it so you aren't wasting half the stat lines on Hammershot. The Primed Bane is actually mandatory because the main reason why I can even kill groups fast is because of electric, not the slash on this build, or the raw damage. Because the weapon doesn't have true AoE, you will need to spread your shots around the crown to tank them all and effectively spread electric. The Prime to Bane double dips on these electric dots to scale the damage. Prime Shred is also extremely important because this weapon has no innate punch through, making it a single target weapon. Punch through means hitting more enemies, especially in crowds, and also means better electric chaining with grouping. Galvanized Multi-Shot and 100 munitions should be pretty self-explanatory. Critical Delay I slotted for crit consistency, since Avenger pushes this to 87%. Merciless because the early kills are with slash, not electric, so you really need your stacks to keep the DPS going. While Deadhead lasts longer and electric dots can benefit from double dip headshot multipliers when chaining, you literally won't kill crowns until you get your stacks up, so Merciless is king here. The Exilus can be whatever you want. This wannabe Phantasma seems to shoot ball sacks just like Gyre, but it's a rifle. So Vigilante supplies can help with the ammo economy while also boosting crits. So let's try this out. I'll even use it on Gyre, with and without cathode gray, so you can see how it works on normal frames and on her or when the frame has crit boosting abilities. Oh, and yeah, Arcane Acceleration to boost the damage output even further. No, this is not an actual Gyre build, I'm just showing you this to benchmark, and I made it specifically to test the weapon in the most fair way possible. If you want actual Gyre builds, check my video I uploaded earlier today. This is without cathode grace. This is with cathode grace. I'm not going to test this in Steel Path because it should be pretty obvious on what we're playing with here. I can show you also on what it looks like if you don't group enemies up. So here's ungrouped enemies without her 3. And here's ungrouped enemies with her 3. Functional, but copium. The Ambassador literally outperforms this weapon in every way possible and is the reason why I used it in Gyre's build showcase. So if you want to check out Ambassador, you can see it in her video or my original video covering that weapon. While not the strongest rifle by any means, it more than suits what Gyre wants, while still being a functional weapon in its own right, beating Alternox in both categories. So what about the AoE Altfire? Well, you shoot out a ball sack. It doesn't even suck in enemies. It just sits there. That's it. And deals damage over time. It will either detonate after a period or when you Altfire again. From what I saw, I don't think it can shoot out more than one bubble at once, even with multi-shot. It's really hard to tell, but heavy caliber had no effect on the throw, and there weren't extra damage numbers to suggest so. The numbers you see here, the 3 of them, are the direct impact, the AoE, and the first dot number from the electric proc. If there was multi-shot, they should appear as separate damage instances. You also can't shoot the Altfire more than once. The only way to detonate them is to Altfire again, meaning you cannot shoot this multiple times. It's shoot, detonate, shoot, detonate. So a poor man's Cynoid similar with none of the damage or quantity of orbs, but all of the flashiness. For some reason, it always seems like the best aesthetically designed weapons are always cursed with the worst damage metrics. You want the build I tried? Here you go. Primed Firestorm does actually work on the weapon and boosts the AoE to 9.96 meters. I built it as a viral electric so it can self-prime, since having to spam fire this to detonate is extremely annoying. Make sure to shoot into enemies towards the floor, as Prime Shred will go through the entire crowd and blow it up on the back wall instead. No, Prime Shred will not make the Altfire go through the floor, but this way at least the primary fire mode remains functional when you realize the Altfire is shit. You can guess at why this build is the way it is, as I'm not going to explain it further. I'm honestly really hoping DE buffs this weapon and fixes a few things with it, but seeing as how weapons are more basic than frames and rarely get a second pass, I won't cross my fingers. DE, you can do better. Let me know down in the comments if you found anything else we can do with this weapon, as I wasn't satisfied. If this is your first time watching, feel free to leave a like, or better yet, subscribe, as 79.5% of you are not subscribed. I'm trying my best to get you new information out always as soon as possible. Like I've done with covering Garuda's rework and the new Zariman update. Stick around if you want to see interesting memes and builds on a nearly daily basis. Don't want to miss out on any of that, do you? That'll be it for this video. Thank you all for watching, and see you all next time.